The worst horror movie I ever saw was fucking great.
Hello and welcome to This May Hurt a Bit. My name is James Strayer and this is
John C. Myers.
And we're a horror franchise podcast discussing each film in horror franchises, and today we are discussing Hellraiser Revelations. You want to go to Tijuana with me? Find out what went wrong with this movie? We go down there to Tijuana and figure it all out. In a lot of ways, I think that this is a great version of behind the scenes is so much more interesting than the movie itself.
Mm-hmm.
I feel bad for not all the people involved, but some of the people involved.
Yeah.
Mainly our friend Gary.
Yes. Yeah. Gary Tunnicliffe, who's been the last remaining stalwart for Hellraiser at this point.
Mm-hmm.
He did a lot of the effects on the previous movies that we've watched for like the past, I think going back to, if not Inferno, at least Hellseeker.
Mm-hmm.
But he did a lot of the effects and then has made some appearances. But he wrote this.
Yeah.
Now, it's my understanding, I think you had told me that what was on the page was not necessarily what the final film was.
So he says. Yes.
So he says.
Yeah. So 2011 rolls around and we haven't had a Hellraiser flick since 2006, I believe. So a good 5-ish years or so. And it's funny because the narrative has been the Weinsteins didn't want the rights to revert to Clive or whoever also owned the rights at the time. So they would just keep churning out, those 4 direct-to-DVD sequels. What cracks me up about this is they realized this so late in the game in 2011. Like, it's almost like they didn't put it on their Google Calendar. Like, oh, yipes.
Yeah.
Like, we got to make a Hellraiser movie in 3 weeks to retain the rights for that and for Children of the Corn. Because remember in Hellraiser 3, they shot, I think it was Hellraiser 3 and Children of the Corn 4 back-to-back in South Carolina or something like that.
They were shooting nearby, or there was some overlap there.
I'm amazed at this giant corporation that didn't have more lead time, and it was like oh my god, we truly have to make this film right away, and just to retain the rights.
It's bizarre. It seems like it almost feels like that they okay, there's a thing we could do to retain the rights,
mm-hmm.
but that costs money. What if we spent that money making this quote unquote movie, and then we can sell it and get something off the back end of that?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, this really does not feel like a movie as much as it feels like, just like a ticking of a box, like a filling out a form. Cause like there's people that criticize, I think correctly, the Russo brothers, those Marvel people that are just like, they're not directors, they're project managers.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that feels like the case here. Like Victor Garcia was like, you have $300,000.
Yeah.
That is so much less than what we've been seeing
mm-hmm.
for even these other low budget ones. Just nothing. But you have $300,000 and you have like a 2-week shooting schedule or something like that. It was a real tight turnaround.
Yeah.
Make it happen.
Yeah.
And so he just does.
Yeah.
There's no frills. There's no whatever. He just does it.
I've worked on corporate photo shoots. I've produced corporate photo shoots that have a higher budget than this Hellraiser feature film. And I don't know who to feel more depressed for, me or them. But
this visually has the appearance of like local productions I was seeing in the mid 2000s.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Of like someone being like, you got how much to make a movie? That's amazing.
Mm-hmm.
From like my point of view, having zero money to do anything.
Mm-hmm.
And then this is like, this is a huge studio. And they're like, we cannot spend any money.
Right. Yeah. Gary comes back from Europe after Hellworld, and I listened to an interview with him, and he said that he was basically just sort of despondent over the fact that like he's been working on all these Hellraiser movies, but he doesn't feel like that they're Hellraiser movies.
Mm-hmm.
Good call, buddy. So he's just like, I'm so deep into this, and I have a great connection with Doug Bradley and all that kind of thing. And he was just really upset about it. And so somebody at one of the studios just said like, well, why don't you do something? Get off your butt and like, actually, write something, make something. And he took that to heart, and he made a 6-minute Hellraiser short film called No More Souls. And it was a completely out of pocket type of situation. And it's, it's fine, but it has like a little bit of a vibe of that kind of like Pinhead's Last Ride,
Yeah. Yeah, it's the idea is that mankind has destroyed itself through nuclear war, and Pinhead is lamenting that there's no souls left for him to harvest.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of a clever idea for like
it's a neat idea, and there's just no money to support the kind of grandiose vision that he has. So it's just Pinhead. It's Tunnicliffe made up as Pinhead.
Yeah,
he's playing Pinhead in this, and there's actually an apology in the credits that's like to Doug Bradley, who budgetary restraints required me to take this role.
Yeah,
sorry,
right.
but it's like someone who liked Hellraiser and was like, I liked thinking about it and putting it into new context. So it's him just soliloquizing that, yeah, everything sucks. What's left for me?
Yeah.
And it's looks kind of cheap because they just, he didn't know what he was doing, but he wanted to try something. But it's still like, I don't know, there's a heart to it that I appreciate.
There's definitely a heart to it. There's a heart that wasn't in the last 4 Hellraiser movies, so I'll take that. Yeah, you can find it on YouTube. It's worth a watch just as far as, completionism and just seeing what this guy's all about.
It's 6 minutes. You can
exactly. It's 6 minutes. So evidently it got kind of passed around. Like other people were just like, yeah, I'll help you out with the music. Yeah, I'll help you out with the edit. Like I'll do some free special effects work for you. It's just like that kind of stuff that you love to hear about among professionals who just want to make cool stuff.
Yeah, the editor of the Scream franchise put it together for him. Yeah.
Evidently, Rick Boda watched it and said, you got closer to Hellraiser than I ever did in my 3 films. And he, I guess, in a way, he's not wrong.
Yeah.
One of the people who is in charge of the DVD production aspect at Dimension was just like, well, can we just put this on one of our DVDs? And it ended up on Deader. You can watch it on Deader. Unfortunately, what happened is it got back to Doug Bradley, and Doug Bradley called him up and was super pissed.
Oh, wow.
Like straight up angry. And so these guys had been friends. Like Tunnicliffe had been applying the makeup to him for the last probably decade. They were buddies.
Yeah, you'd think he would have checked in about it.
Yeah, for sure. So Tunnicliffe says that it was his impression that other people were whispering in Doug's ear saying like, oh, Tunnicliffe thinks he's a better Pinhead than you.
Oh, sure.
Like that kind of stuff. And Tunnicliffe was just saying like, no, buddy, like you live in England. I did this for pennies on a weekend. I can't fly you out, Look
at the dang credits. I publicly apologize in my own movie.
Exactly. And that's like, I don't know how that got smoothed over and if those guys are friends again now. God, I hope so, because that is not something that should follow you around, especially a Hellraiser fan film, essentially,
Yeah.
It's just the case that Tunnicliffe played Pinhead himself because he was just like, I'm the best to, try this. So the short got the attention of somebody at Dimension and basically said like, okay, buddy, we've got $300,000 and we've got to make this movie right now. Do you want to write and direct it? And he said, well, they're going to make it with or without me, so I might as well do my best to make this happen. So he writes the script. They said, okay, let's jam this into production right now. But he wrote the script while he was working in the makeup department of Scream 4 in the evenings after production, which is incredible. Scream 4 was still in production and they were like, great, we got to shoot this in 3 weeks. And he's like, well, I can't get out of Scream 4. Even though they were made by, similar companies, they were just like, no, you got to stay on the big expensive Nev Campbell movie. We can't let you do this. So he got booted from the director's chair and he was just like, well, God, what are they going to do with my script? So cue Victor Garcia. And Tunnicliffe has gone on record just saying my God, what did you do to my boy on the script? And he does not like this movie one bit.
Yeah, no one seems to.
Yeah.
I mean, Doug Bradley had kind of famously said hey, there's going to be a new movie, not the remake that people have been talking about, but I would stress that I've had no contact from or negotiations with anyone from Dimensions Films. Rather, these contacts have been by way of private discussions with individuals involved with this project. And he said the ink is barely dry on the script and it is scheduled to be in front of the camera in 2 weeks' time and in the can by the middle of next month. The minuscule shooting schedule is more than matched by the budget. But he ends by saying hey, I wish everyone involved with it best of luck. good luck to you, which I think is magnanimous, or at least, a way to kind of say, hey, Dimension, I'm still cool with you in case you want to come back to me, but just this is not working out.
Funny thing is that the producers came to Tunnicliffe and said, so this is going to happen. Do you think Doug Bradley will do this? Can you reach out to him? And he's like, well, maybe, I guess so. But you guys are shooting in like 3 weeks. And he's just like, yeah, I'll ask him. So what's your budget for Doug? $5,000. So after all of that kerfluffle about making that short film, Tunnicliffe still went to Doug and say, hey, man, they're going to make this film also $5,000. So that he's got to swallow a lot of crap right there just to call up Doug.
And then Clive Barker, because when they were advertising this movie as From the Mind of Clive Barker like got on Twitter and was like, hell no, it does not come from my mind. It is no fucking child of mine. I have nothing to do with the fucking thing. If they claim it's from the mind of Clive Barker, it's a lie. It's not even from my butthole.
No one can write a statement like Clive Barker still manages to be gross about it.
But I will say this, kind of in line with what Rick Boda was saying about No More Souls, is that this movie it's awful. Yeah. It is a terrible film, but it's the best Hellraiser movie we've had in a while.
Yeah. I will.
It's also terrible, but it's a Hellraiser movie. Mm-hmm. Like, they try to do a Hellraiser movie in some ways that I think if you were making a satire of Hellraiser, or like, I hate Hellraiser and here's why, it would work. But like, as a straight up, hey, we're doing Hellraiser again, it's pretty bleak. But they do actually go back to not just jamming Pinhead, crossing off a slasher's name and writing in Pinhead above it.
Right. They
actually like try to stay true to the lore and whatever established in the first few movies.
Yeah. I mean, I will give Tunnicliffe a lot of credit in that regard of just saying like, as a fan, I'm going to attempt to write a Hellraiser movie. Like, it doesn't succeed.
Right.
But it's the first one that actually felt like, and I'm not just saying like, ooh, there's a mattress. Like, no, there are things that make this feel more in line with the original, and hats off there, but hats back on because it sucks.
Yeah, I mean, you could argue it's
in a lot of ways.
There's a lot of similar elements to it. Whereas the first one sort of felt like a chamber drama. This is almost entirely in the same room, with the exception of the Mexico scenes. But
your favorite.
It's all in the same place. Yep. Oh, man. And they really tried to like dive into like Paranormal Activity had swept in this wave of found footage horror movies. That was kind of the big popular thing. And so they tried to capitalize on that by opening the film on a couple of lunkheads going to Mexico.
We're about to get laid multiple times over.
At Disneyland?
You can get laid at Disneyland, but we're not going to Disneyland.
And when were you gonna tell me this?
I was gonna tell you at the border.
The Mexican border?
Yo!
No,
yes!
No way!
Yes! Donkey show in Tijuana!
What?
Tijuana! Yeah!
Filming with it's kind of funny to think about now. People film with their, you film with your phone. These people had, probably handy cams.
Yeah.
And so that everything is like super close up and tight in the car because, you have the big thing that you're trying to like maneuver around. Well, bigger than a phone anyway. And I just feels like that's also a cost cutting measure where it's like, we're going to put you two actors in a car. I know you're super excited to have this job. And so you don't care that we're going to take advantage of you.
Also be a DP.
Yeah. Film this and then kind of riff on it for a bit.
Yeah.
And we'll use whatever you guys come up with.
Yeah. And that's the frustrating thing. And if we do get around to Paranormal Activity and Blair Witch and more found footagey type thing that it's not my cup of tea most of the time, but I can appreciate it. Like this idea that found footage is just automatically cheaper. It is in some ways, but a good found footage will still have a DP that has planned out shots. It's not just like flailing around looking for the subject, Yeah. It's still art directed,
Right. Like, it still requires you to make a thing I can look at and, have it be watchable.
I mean, the watchable is a good thing to say because the opening stuff in here is so overexposed. You can't even see it. It's like he's shooting into the sun practically without adjusting, what he needs to do. But like, I can't even see what's going on. Mix that with their awful, unlikable dialogue. And I was like, oh God, this is going to be a long hour and 15 minutes.
Because you're going to hear me probably complain several times about the footage that we see because it's like I've complained in other films that we've done, particularly when the mom's watching it later, you're not watching raw footage. You're watching a movie. You're watching cuts happening in this thing, and it's not just someone stopping and starting.
Yeah.
But so realistically, a dumb shit headed to Mexico with his buddy is not going to white balance a camera.
Yeah.
Or, whatever. Like, that's fine. That's leavable. But I still paid to watch this.
Yeah, it's still a movie, like, please. I still want to be able to know what's going on here. So,
yeah,
we've got these couple of guys. Did you catch their last names? Really reaching out to horror fans like you.
Yep. The last name is Bradley, and the other one is Craven.
Can you imagine like Doug Bradley just be like? I would be kind of offended. Like,
yeah,
like you guys tried to get me onto this with a week's notice, basically, and lowballed me like crazy at $5,000 for a rate. Now you're going to name somebody after me.
Yeah. Thanks.
Bite me. God. These two kids are off to seek sensation in Tijuana.
So this is kind of what I was getting at with the, like, if you hated Hellraiser.
Right.
Because it takes that concept of, like, these people seeking sensations and just boils it on down to, oh, you mean like a couple of asshole kids that just had their first drinks in college?
Right.
It's the same thing, right?
Right.
And I think that's an interesting way to go about it, like an interesting kind of twist on it, but it's done so annoyingly that it's hard to really appreciate it.
It really makes you appreciate Frank, just because, like, even though he didn't get a ton of setup, I just felt like, yes, he was a seeker of sensation. I bought it, maybe mainly because he's a better actor,
Yeah. Well, I mean, it also seemed elevated to this thing because he was into occult stuff or whatever. It wasn't just like, yeah, let me get drunk and touch a boob.
Yeah.
Right. They make JP Monroe from Part 3 seem more like Frank, the crappy club owner.
Yeah.
Like, he even seems more elevated compared to these yahoos.
Yeah. I mean, Frank, I believe that he's had sex in every possible way you can with all genders of people. And he's like, I need to take this a step further. Whereas these two guys are like, I don't believe you've had any experience in your life.
I've read some forum postings about sex, so I know what's up.
Right. Yeah. Mixed with that,
I'm a mod on sexhaving.com.
Right. Also, they can't pour a shot to save their lives. I don't care. Like, I hate it when movies show this, or if even the rare times I see this in real life where somebody pours a round of shots and they get half of it on the table. I'm like, I'm not going down there to hoover it up with my mouth necessarily, but I'm just saying, like, geez, guys, like, this is a
that could have gone in me.
Yeah, that's a nice bottle of tequila. Like, we're not pouring one out for our friends here.
Oh, and I love the bar that they're drinking at, which is just
the definitely a real bar.
Definitely a real bar that is not just a room with one chair and some lights.
Yeah.
But so they are getting drunk and being very annoying. And are drunkenly hitting on this very beautiful girl that's down there, but no one, and she's not annoyed by them somehow. And then the footage cuts to later. One of them is opening a box, and you kind of get the camera shaking all around. You get a glimpse that Pinhead is watching, and turns out, it's the mom is watching this footage on a camera. Mm-hmm. She's watching this footage. They're back at home. Apparently, it's a year later, although I don't feel like that was ever said in the movie.
Yeah.
And they got this stuff because, like, the Mexican authorities gave it to her. But basically, these two boys have been missing for a year. Mm-hmm. Nico Bradley and Stephen Craven, Stevie Creevy, their parents are getting together.
Joseph Hodder, out there somewhere.
And I don't want to be mean to anyone in this film, any of the actors or whatever. Like, I hate the young men's characters. They're terrible.
Yeah.
The two boys, I hate their characters. But there's no time to do anything. The direction probably wasn't there. It was probably more focused on just getting stuff done. But, like, there are some real crappy performances here.
Yeah.
One of which we're introduced to now. Tracy Fairway as Emma comes in and gives the most. I mean, this is a very teen reading of the line where she's like,
I thought so. That's Stevens.
It's nothing. You keep saying that, but this is the third time I found you looking at it.
Honey, are you looking at that stuff again? Fine, whatever.
Yeah.
It all just seems very matter of fact, and it took me a while to figure out that was her mom, I guess, whatever.
Oh, right, yeah.
But they're getting together to have dinner with the Bradleys, and they apparently never talk about the kids. That is apparently a thing that Emma just immediately brings up, is that, how come you guys never talk about this? What's up with that?
Yeah.
And
it's been a year. Yeah.
It's been a year. And it's weird that you guys don't talk about it, because she was also Nico's girlfriend.
Put that one behind your ear for later, you know?
Yes, yeah.
Yeah.
But so now we are in the house where the majority of the movie is going to be taking place now.
The woman that plays one of the moms, I can't remember if it's the Bradleys or the Cravens, but
Blonde or brunette?
Brunette.
That's the Bradleys.
Brunette Bradleys. Okay, gotcha. So the Bradley mom was the girlfriend of the director.
Oh.
And I'm not going to say that it's always bad to cast or like give your friends or loved ones a helping hand. However, her performance does not earn that kind of favor here. So, yeah, it's a rough dynamic between these four, where they're just like, of course, I don't know if they've been meeting up for the last year and having these dinners, or if this is the first time, because obviously it would have been established, like, we don't talk about this, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah, I don't know. There's a lot of ellipses that happen.
Right.
Where you're just supposed to accept that, oh, okay, I guess they've been doing this for a while and they haven't been talking. And, oh, I guess they've been gone a year. You get the sense that with Pinhead showing up, that something bad happened, but they're missing. It's not that they've been murdered. They're just missing. And that the cops are like, oh, like the authorities of another nation are like, oh, here's your son's stuff, rather than being like, throw this away. Who gives a shit?
Right. They're having dinner. Emma gets all upset, like runs upstairs, and she finds the puzzle box, right?
She finds the puzzle box. Yeah. But she also, like, the mom is also like, hey, don't look at this footage. This is terrible. Right. She does the Werner Herzog, never look at this.
Ooh, yeah.
Stay away from this. You don't want to see this.
Don't make me think of a better movie during your movie.
But I'm going to keep watching it, though, and torture myself. But don't look at it. It will just be here unprotected in his room.
Yeah.
But don't look at it. And she does. And we get a little bit more backstory about what happens. And this I found very frustrating, because they eventually switch from going handy cam to just like, okay, here's a flashback. Here's their trip to Mexico.
Yes. Yeah.
But it happens in the same scene. Like, she is looking at the footage and seeing stuff.
Yeah.
And then she sees something horrible, closes it, goes, oh my God. And then we cut back to that scene. She has stopped watching the video. Our entry into the scene is gone. Yeah. But you're still like, yeah, we're in here now. It doesn't matter.
Right.
So anyway, then Nico says.
Right. And then so this flashback that we get, Nico, turns out that the woman that he was flirting with, of course, is a sex worker, and they have sex in the bathroom of the bar, and he accidentally kills her.
Yeah, it's unclear whether he accidentally kills her or not, because Steven wakes up and, you know, he's pissed that he's like, oh, you always do this to me.
You always kill the prostitute, not me.
You always well, I think stealing the girl from him.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
But, which is strange, because he's dating his sister.
Yeah,
but we'll find more about that out later.
Yeah.
So they're having sex, and then Steven is all bummed and passes out. And when he comes to, Nico is very like, we got to get out of here. This sucks. We got to go. Finds out that, yes, the girl is dead. And Nico's like, I don't know what happened. She's dead. And so it's unclear if he murdered her, she just hit her head on the toilet or something. If he bashed her head into the toilet, you know, like, so I don't know, but it seems like he's a bad boy.
Right.
Then they have a big scuffle about whether or not, he's like, we should get rid of the tape, because that shows that you were here and did that. And he's like, yeah, but that shows you were here too.
Right.
So I'm going to blackmail you with that.
Yeah.
And I was like, that sounds good. Let's do that.
Yeah. A lot of these flashbacks, like, let's just hit all this flashback crap like now.
Yeah.
So evidently, like, they're still hanging out down there, and our vagrant guy, I don't know if it's supposed to be the same one from the first movie.
No, but like that was the thing I was kind of glad to see back, is the creepy vagrant. Although in the previous ones, he's more just like the watcher of the box. He's the guy that's like kind of searching for it and takes it back at the end.
Yeah.
In this one, he's more like, hey, you know what's cool? The box. You guys should try out this box.
And it goes to show where his the bar is dropping for him to try to find people. Like, again, not everybody can be frank, of course, but like, if this guy is like trying to entice people, he's just like, all right, 2 drunk 19-year-olds. You know?
Just in a random bar in Tijuana. Like,
how'd he get there? Okay, I don't need to know that, I guess, but I'm just saying, like, this is where he goes. I guess it's just like he has to fill his quota. And he's like, I know where I can get 2 new flesh bags to open this for sure. He explains,
Death is a finality. There's no beauty in that, as you both know.
All right, listen, I don't know where this is going. If you think
How many
that...
people have you known who've come close to death and survive? Every day for them is the best day ever. Every sensation, a symphony. That's what this does.
but I love, even skipping ahead a little bit, like I love the fact that they say that a vagrant gave them the box and talk about it for a while. And then we get the flashback. And then we just watch exactly what is told. Because, you always say show, don't tell. They told, then they showed. So they doubled up.
They do the same thing again when we see when Pinhead actually shows up. We see what the footage that we got teased out at the beginning was. It's the same footage.
It's the same footage.
It's pretty much the same thing. Like you didn't recontextualize it or give it any new meaning. You just repeated footage for a movie that is 70 minutes long.
Yes.
Good Lord.
Yeah. Of course, they're excited about this, and the vagrant does go on for a long time here.
A long time, and it's kind of a bummer because he doesn't so much entice them as much as it just kind of like lays it all out. And again, the sort of flattening of the whole Hellraiser mythos. Mm-hmm. Like any mystery is pretty much drained out of it, where it's more just like, have you ever had your dick touched for eternity? Yeah. In weird ways? Yeah, I guess.
Right.
That makes it sound strange, but I'm in.
Sure. Yeah. But they goes on, and then we get to Nico opening the box surrounded by candles and all that kind of stuff. There is one shot that I like in all of this, and it's a weird just like pan where Pinhead first shows up. And I don't know what it is about it, but it's like 3 seconds where I was like, oh, I can see how this could be like intense in like a found footage way.
Yeah.
Maybe I'm like looking for positives here, but like there is a moment that I actually found like slightly chilling, like, and you can hear like the bells in the background, which I thought was a good touch. Like there's tiny bits that I liked about. Well,
yeah, it was that kind of like realization, like, oh, they're going back to what Hellraiser was, to this idea of Pinhead being somewhat magisterial, or like that he was summoned and like a portal open or something. He didn't just open a door at the Days Inn.
What up?
Like, yeah, hey, housekeeping. But yeah, that quickly went away when we just see like the same shots of him in this like little blue room.
Yeah.
That we'll see a whole bunch of.
A whole lot of later. So yeah, back at the ranch, Emma has gotten the box. She starts fondling it a little bit. And who shows up but Steve? Steven's back for some reason. And she's now all horny for the other dad, which is weird.
Yeah. The box acts as an aphrodisiac, apparently.
I guess that's new.
Yeah,
like,
I mean, that they bring back that element of you have to have desire to open it. And they kind of explain it the same way that a little bit kind of like how Frank does. Like it's searching for you while you're searching for it. Sure. Like it's seeking out people to open it, but you have to have that desire and that urge, that exploratory urge.
Right.
But there's several. We've already seen it at least once before this, while they're talking at dinner, that it will cut to Pinhead, but it's just him wandering around the blue room and you can hear their voices. So it's like he's listening to them. Doesn't he have anything better to do? Like, what is, like, I don't know if he's supposed to be like in the box or just farting around their attic, looking at old yearbooks.
Of course, they're all amazed that Steve is back, and they bring him in, and I guess they try to make him comfortable, try to figure out, like, why are you bleeding? Like, are you all, like, what's up with you? All that kind of thing.
I don't think he's hurt. I don't think this is his blood.
We get another flashback because there's another prostitute that Steven has sex with, and Nico tells him to kill her so that he can come out of the mattress. So we're getting into the Frank and Julia stuff.
Yeah, because he hears a voice say like, "Oh, kill her."
Steven! Her blood brought me back! Bring me more!
The makeup here is because they have a skinless Nikos, and whatever the striations they're giving to the muscles on his head, just make it look like he's got a bad bowl cut. Like he's just got a muscle bowl cut, and it just like you just summoned up Mo from the Three Stooges. It's terrible.
Yeah. I guess at this point I was already so bored that when I saw the mattress, when I saw the skinless person, I was like, this is at least trying to be a Hellraiser movie. We're not stuck in a hell of my personal making, you know?
Right.
So I was giving them points for that.
Yeah.
A little bit.
I mean, because like after 4 movies of just jamming, like I said, jam Pinhead other places, it's like, oh, you're actually doing Hellraiser shit. Okay. Well, that makes me a little bit more interested.
Right.
There's an odd thing about Stephen being back is that very, like he's muttering, he's like, don't let them get me. Oh, because he's very out of sorts, whatever. And they lay him down. And then they're like, oh yeah, the phones are out and our cars are gone.
Yeah.
Because the movie tries to make you think like the Cenobites are doing it.
Right.
That's what it seems like at first, which doesn't make much sense. But also because one of the dad's reactions to the cars being gone is like if you're making chocolate chip cookies and you're at the stage to put it in the chocolate chips and you don't have chocolate chips, that's his. It's just like, shit.
Yeah.
It's that. It's like, nuts. Rather than just like, both our cars have been stolen.
Right.
Biscuits. Like, this is kind of a big deal, man.
Yeah. And like, I am fine with the modern hand waviness of cell phones don't work, blah, because like, I hate them in like horror movies. Like you got to get rid of them. It just sucks. Cars is a step further. So I mean, I wouldn't have even cared nor noticed if it was only the cell phones being out. And I could just like let my metaphysical brain go and be like, well, yeah, if the Cenobites are present, they probably fuck up, cell phone towers. That's fine. Like, I don't care, but Chatterer getting behind the wheel and like stealing a car. And, like,
hell yeah. Yeah. Chatterer pops the clutch, tells the world to eat his dust.
Right.
Yeah. I just don't like the ideas that much of Pinhead interacting with technology. Like even in No More Souls, when like he makes some reference to like access codes, like Pinhead shouldn't say access codes. That feels strange.
For sure. Yeah. Yeah, this is further implying that they are an island unto themselves. This is truly a chamber piece. We cannot get out. Fine, whatever. So at this point, Emma goes up to see Steven.
Well, Emma's opening the box or like talking to Nico's dad.
Yeah.
Dad 2 of the interchangeable dads about the box, and is totally like the box is turning her up. She's getting horny about it. And the mom notices this and is like, why don't you not do this? Yeah. Go take some soup to your ailing brother.
Yeah. So she's like, well, if anything, I can get some from my brother. So, yeah.
Yeah, it gets Game of Thronesy.
It gets Game of Thrones. Okay, so I am not advocating for this at all.
I'm fascinated by where this is going to go.
I'm just saying.
All good sentences start with this.
I'm just saying, like, if you're going to do a gross Hellraiser movie type of thing, like go for some weird kinky desire. I'm not saying it's a good idea. I'm just saying, like, let's get into the nastiness that is Hellraiser.
It is transgressive. Which is kind of the whole thing.
That's what I was.
That it is transgressing from the normal. So yes, I understand.
Yes,
your
understand
sicko
my
point.
interest in.
I understand your disgusting beliefs.
Right.
But this is when I immediately, for me anyway. Oh, I know exactly what's going on because
100%.
This movie isn't freaky enough to do this.
Agreed. Yeah. So like, it was a good like cover. At first, I was like, "Oh, they are going transgressive here."
Yeah, because it is gross.
Yes, it's very gross. And I mean, again, I'm looking for places to give credit. So it's just like when he accidentally tears her boob skin off, I was like, "Okay, like we're getting into this transgressive like grossness that Hellraiser should have."
But it's also just kind of funny because I can't imagine, just from the nature of this thing, I can't imagine like there was an approval process. There was like, is it done? It's done. It's fine. I don't care. Put it out there. Right. So to kind of be like, oh, let's just put a little brother sister action in there and see,
For sure. Yeah. Well, I mean, so the studio says there was no rewrite. Tunnicliffe says there were rewrites. That is what a writer who is not happy with what he submitted says. So I'm not sure if this was a rewrite. but I don't think the Dimension lawyers got a run
Right.
at this script.
Yeah.
You know,
I specialize in incest law.
right? It's all legal. Done.
Yeah, boom.
That'll be $2.50 an hour.
It's one of the guys from that X-Files episode, Home.
Yeah. Right. Well, I don't know.
He's their
There's some
lawyer.
good points here.
Yeah, I don't know. What's the problem?
I mean, I work for Weinstein, so
Like this is pretty.
I don't know. Yeah, so obviously it doesn't take us long to figure out that it is Nico wearing a Steven suit, and because that's what we've done in the past. And again, like we haven't seen this in 5 movies, so you might as well bring this trope back. I kind of didn't mind it, really.
Yeah, he didn't morph into someone. He is wearing their skin, that's the classic Hellraiser nonsense.
Now, the problem is the performance that Frank/Andrew Robinson gave is miles better.
Yeah.
Miles O'Keefe better than this Steven Nico performance, which is utterly embarrassing. And then you put in the fact that they just have him in his jammy jams the entire time when he's holding his family at gunpoint.
Yeah, because there's this issue where they're hearing some stuff outside, and the vagrant guy is back, and one of the dads is very drunk, and they have an altercation, and the vagrant ends up cutting off that dad's face. But then, like in the interim, because they come at him with a shotgun, in the interim, Steven gets the shotgun. And yeah, this whole scene is just a lot of this kid just being fed all the scenery and just chomping it up.
Children. Why? So they can end up as fucked up as me? I'm miserable. I'm depressed. I'm unfulfilled. So I'll bring in another life into this world and see if that entertains me. Good plan.
Dude, I'm so twisted. Like I was talking about kind of if you hated Hellraiser, he does get into like, you know why we left? It's like we were getting away from this boring life and this stupid suburbia.
You mean
you had
the bullshit Generica?
Bullshit Generica. Yes.
I hate this shithole. Nowhere town. We both hated it. That's why we left. We simply had to get the fuck out of this bullshit Generica.
Basically taking what Julia did in the first one, which was being trapped in this life where, you know, she felt kind of no love and anonymous, whatever, to this thrill of this other stuff, rather than just sort of showing that by going like, yeah, you're squares, man. I've been reading Adbusters and really sticking it to you.
Well, but I mean, it kind of goes back to the point we were making earlier, where these teenagers are just teenagers. Like, I'm sorry, but like, you know nothing. If the Cenobites are coming for somebody who wants to experience the furthest reaches of sensation, and he's just like, I gotta get out of my small town. Like, yeah. I am sorry, you were not earning this.
Well, you also like live in this really fancy ass place, but
yes,
you know, whatever. Ennui is ennui, I guess. But
right.
And I mean, I think some of it is that I think this is probably they attempted to target it towards younger people because, you know, that was sort of all the remakes did already. You know, Texas Chainsaw is just full of your Jessica Biels, whatever. The Friday the 13th remake has a bunch of younger people in it. So they were like, oh yeah, hot young people. Put them in there.
Yep.
Get the hottest, youngest person we can afford.
We can afford. Don't get the hottest, youngest person. The one that we can afford. Give me a discount hot young person.
So I think that kind of like, well, we'll just speak to them by being like, yeah, isn't life bullshit, man? Isn't authority like phony? Then that's his reasoning. But they don't present it in a very interesting way. It's like, maybe to other teens are like, yeah, that's speaking my language. But to anyone else, it's like this. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I remember when I felt like that. And it doesn't feel good remembering that, frankly. But like, it's just, he's just eating it up. And you find out also that like Nico's mom was having an affair with Steven's dad.
Yep.
And that's also what drove them away.
Right.
I guess like, I'd be like, cool, we could be brothers, man.
Right.
But you know, whatever. They're just like, oh, that. And again, like that's an interesting idea that like, certainly not new, but the idea that you have this boring suburban life that underneath that there's this, drama and resentment and all this other stuff going on. No. It's just, here's some shorthand. We've only got 70 minutes. So here's some shorthand about how everything's bullshit. And we ran away. And now I went to hell and I came back. And you find out we've left out that in a couple of the Pinhead puttering around bits. And we should talk about Pinhead here in a second.
Yes.
But I just want to mention in the Pinhead puttering around bits that there's another Cenobite that's like looks sort of more freshly skinned that Pinhead is applying pins. He's like nailing skin onto him.
He's doing a mini-me.
He's doing a mini-me. And I think, so as we mentioned, Doug Bradley is not in this.
I can't, but okay, I just want to say point of order that I'm sure that nobody else has gone 47 minutes in discussing this movie without talking about how shitty this Pinhead is. And
yes.
I am patting myself on the back right now.
Yeah. I mean, there's so many other things to be bad about in this movie, but this Pinhead thing is pretty egregious because you didn't hire a guy to disappear into the makeup.
Yeah.
You didn't hire someone that could just be like, oh, it's okay. I just did a quick glance. It's Pinhead. This dude looks completely different.
Yeah.
He looks like he could be named Todd. That's not what you want out of a Pinhead.
Mm-hmm.
And then it's not even his voice. He's dubbed over by Fred Tatasciore, if I'm saying that name right.
A very good voice actor.
Voice actor. Tons of video games, cartoons, stuff like that.
Human memories, they have no place nor meaning in our existence.
So just why have this guy that looks like a Midwestern Pinhead? Like, it sucks.
Yeah. His eyes are way too big. And again, like I try not to be like too judgmental about the way people look and that kind of thing. But when you're trying to mirror like one of the more expressive horror villains and somebody who it is all in his face.
Right.
You have to have a good face. And I don't like looking at this guy's face.
Doug Bradley's Pinhead is so like reserved and magisterial. And this guy's constantly just like pacing and moving and he can't like so what I think happened is that Pinhead is just a job role.
Ah, yes.
And that our Pinhead, he's either retired, been fired, or maybe it's a rite of passage where you're like, okay, make me a new Pinhead.
Mm-hmm.
Or maybe he just was tired of making Chatterers and was like, oh, I made a new Pinhead. And then Leviathan's like, I need two of you guys now. Get the fuck out of here.
Yeah.
This guy will work cheaper. And then that guy, all he knows how to do is to make pinheads. So he's making another Pinhead.
I think this guy might be AI Pinhead.
He's AI. Ooh.
It's just like Pinhead got kicked out by Leviathan where he's just like, you know what? AI can probably do this.
Right.
I'm just going to generate an AI ChatGPT version. This is the slop that it turns out.
Pretty much. Yeah.
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 They did say actually that the costume that he wore was a cosplay costume that they ordered online because they didn't have a budget.
Sure.
And they tried to juice it up a little bit and, make it look better. There's only so much you can do. The costume didn't stand out to me as terrible, but like I think when I watched it a second time, I was looking a little closer about it.
I mean, everything is so low budget in this that it's hard to like just focus on that specifically. But I'm looking at some stills. I can see what they're getting at here
for sure.
And it is like I don't want to crap on this actor.
Yeah,
because this is a thankless thing he's doing, whatever, and work. But just the decisions that led to casting this guy are baffling to me.
Can you imagine too? Like as we always say here, we love a working actor. Job's a job. Most people who act are not wealthy. Like you live job to job in this industry. Can you imagine this guy is just like, yeah, for $5,000, I'll show up for like 4 days.
Yeah.
But the unending amount of shit that he takes, I guess online by nerds or whatever. But you're the guy who's going to step into Doug Bradley's boots. And was that worth $5,000? I mean, that is a paltry price.
Maybe got him out of a couple jams. Don't know.
Could be.
But
he looks like the kind of guy who might get in some jams. But
he kind of looks like on his IMDb. He kind of looks like Agent. He looks like Agent 47.
He's a stuntman.
Yeah. Definitely doing some stunts.
So other Cenobites in this. There is a female Chatterer. I think she looks okay.
She's fine.
Yeah, she's fine.
I mean, I'm grading on a curve here, but it's fine.
That's true. Yeah. And I don't. Was there another Cenobite? I can't even remember.
Yes.
I feel like there was one, but he was so not memorable that I can't remember. Yeah. But boy, I mean, I'm sure anybody who's listening to this has seen all of the still photos that get plastered around online of this poor guy as Pinhead. And he's not good and
not great.
Just too bad. But so when the family is taken into the Cenobite realm, like the box is eventually opened.
Yeah.
They get sucked into a realm I think. Like it's more like the attic with the blue light and stuff like that.
Right. Where it's like it wasn't even in the previous ones where like they open a portal or something and then Pinhead comes through. Like in the attic, all of a sudden it's
like
in the first one.
Like it's better. Again, it's better than him walking around a Days Inn, and just like walking into your room. But
Steven lets on that his whole plan, because he's running from them, much like Frank did, but that his whole plan is like, I'm going to summon them and then trade all your boring asses for me. Right. And I'm sure he'll appreciate that. But then when the box is open, he's like, oh no. It's like, what? That's what you wanted.
Right.
What do you?
Yeah. So
continuity. Who needs it?
Right. The other thing, like, I want to make sure we touch on this extremely small point, though, because we started talking about the mini-me Cenobite. There are, like, touches of the makeup close-ups that were kind of good and kind of gooey and gross for, like, 3 seconds or so. I just cannot imagine if you're the high priest of hell, this guy gets to be your, like, progeny. You're like, he's your next guy. Like, this guy don't deserve it. Like, Frank maybe deserves it, but just like this Joker, like, I don't know.
Well, because we see at the beginning of Hellbound, Hellraiser 2, that when Pinhead becomes Pinhead, that you have all these like, that stop motion stuff.
God,
That's so great. Whereas this one, he's just manually got to do it. So Leviathan just suffering, like just low budget.
He's out of work too.
Yeah, times are tough.
Yeah.
The 2008 financial crisis really he had some bad real estate deals, and he's still covering from that.
Yeah, the families are taken hostage basically by Pinhead. Talks a bunch of nothing, and the mother. There is one kind of good effect shot where the mother is screaming and gets chains into her throat, and her two throat flaps get ripped open. Not bad. Like,
not bad. That was fine. And I also just like the Pinhead's like, shut up, and then does that. Right. But so and then as they're down here, and like Steven Nico throws out that, hey, why don't you take these people to the mean?
Now you will come with us.
No. I called you here. I called you to trade her for me.
Trade? No.
I appreciate that because that never sat right with me. That whole the initial deal that Ashley makes sense because she's like, you want Frank because he escaped,
right?
Not later in Hellseeker, she's like, I can give you a whole bunch of souls. You want souls? I can get you souls, no questions asked.
Yeah,
that there was a little bit more like personal at stake there because Pinhead was like, no, he doesn't get out. But people are getting out all the time, as we found. But I just like the Pinhead's like, no, that's absolutely stupid. I'm not doing that. And we find out that, Steven has been skinned, and then he left him alone in Mexico and with his skin. But then like basically Pinhead took him, and that's who the mini Pinhead is.
Yeah.
Is Steven now.
Mini Pin. Yeah. God.
Mini Pin.
We just had to say that.
Yeah.
Also worth noting is that the one dad got shot in the gut by a shotgun, and he's just been kind of tooling around pretty not bad, and I love the reaction of all the other family members who are just like, yeah, that kind of looks like it kind of hurts. Sucks.
Yeah. Ouchie.
Like that's about it. The dad thinks he's being all like badass, and he shoots Steven.
No one gets to kill you but me, you little fuck.
Okay, fine. And then I do love that idea that the Cenobites are just like, oh, well, I guess we're screwed. Somebody did die in hell. Or I guess if we are in hell or whatever. But
I don't fully understand this because it seemed like I guess I don't understand how you end up in this dimension, or like, are you unkillable once they have you? Can only magic kill you? Because I mean, we've seen Frank and Julia, they're only dispatched by hellish machinations,
right?
Whereas this kid just gets a shotgun blast. I mean, I guess you could. I guess there's nothing that says. I just assumed if you can live without skin for a while, that it would take more than that to kill you. But
this movie ends so abruptly. I was kind of shocked, but happy that it was over.
Yes, because Pinhead's like, "Hey, you idiot! We were gonna like really screw with this kid for eternity, and you blew it. So guess what? I'm taking your wife.
Yeah,
I'm killing your wife. Like, really, what I'd like to do is take your horrible daughter." Because she's been touching the box and seems to into it, but she's got, I think he's called it a seed of evil inside of her. He's like, she's gonna she's going to touch the box anyway, so I don't need to rush. She's going to show up.
Yeah.
Like, so I'll just go ahead and take your wife, rip her face off with chains.
Mm-hmm. They do that. They're zapped back to their living room, basically.
Mm-hmm.
And the movie ends so abruptly with Emma just picking up the box and looking at it. And does she spike the camera in the last frame?
I think she does. There's a little bit like, here we go again.
Yeah.
You know, like a
ain't
I a stinker?
I don't want to just assume, but are they trying to set her up as some sort of like, sequel character? Like she's going to be our Julia or something like that.
It could be, yeah, where it's just like that this isn't over, that this, they needed a way to kind of be like, just in case people watch this and go, oh, actually, this is really good.
Yeah.
That we can do something else with these characters, even though that was never going to happen. I mean, there's no way you could have made this movie there's a non-zero chance this movie could have been good.
Yeah.
But like you were up against so much and so much people not caring that you were doing this that it was just doomed to always be this.
Yeah.
So like I said, I don't want to come down too hard on the people involved, but this is not good.
No. Let's honor our dead. Get out of here. Mexican girl played by Adele Marie Ruiz, murdered by Nico in bathroom. Nico Bradley, played by Jay Gillespie, skinned alive by Cenobites, later impaled by chains, shot by shotgun. Prostitute, played by Sue Ann Pien, beaten to death with lament configuration. Peter Bradley, played by Sebastian Roberts, face cut off. Street Walker, played by Camilla D., killed off screen by Nico. Baby, played by Baby, killed off screen by Nico. Ew. Stephen Craven, played by Nick Eversman, skinned alive. Kate Bradley, played by Sandy Van Heteren, throat torn open by chains. Sarah Craven, played by Devon Sorbari, torn apart by chains. Dr. Ross Craven, played by Stephen Brand, shot with shotgun. So, John, in the same week that I watched this movie, I had one of the most, I don't want to say profound, but like one of the best theater going experiences I've had in my life. And that is the Hollywood Theater played The Straight Story on 35 millimeter film. And I found it so incredibly moving and I just loved it. Like I was in a sense of like daze for a couple of hours afterwards.
Wow, nice.
Then I came home and rewatched Hellraiser Revelations. And I was just like,
threw that all away.
Not that you can't love both, our beloved horror trash and profound, beautiful, transcendental like filmmaking. I love both. But boy, oh boy, when I watched it a second time, I was just like, man, what's the purpose of art when you're making this just to hold on to rights?
Yeah.
After having just watched this beautiful film that is not about commerce, not about holding on to rights. It was just a beautiful experience of Richard Farnsworth on screen. So that's what I just always think of now.
Yeah, it's because this is it. Like when you know that this is why this was made, it feels 100 times worse.
Oh,
and like obviously, it's no surprise that sequels and these franchises are just designed to make money. Obviously,
sure, and I'm okay.
But when it's this craven, and it's just open and vulgar about it, it sucks.
Yeah, it's just
it really. I mean, I'd rather you put Pinhead back in space. You know what I mean? That's at least an idea. And like we've been saying, give this thing credit for like trying to bring back Hellraiser tropes. In fact, there's one bit in this where she reads the dictionary definition of Cenobite.
So Cenobite, it says here, A member of a religious group living together in a monastic community.
Yes.
It's so stupid, but at the same time, I'm like, but the series needed you to do this.
Right.
The series needed you to go, these are what Cenobites are. This is what this all means. It's not people that are pissed at a mean detective.
Right.
It's about more than this.
Totally.
It's again like a bad way to go about it, but it's like, yeah, I like this attempt to get the series back to its roots, even if it was, the most vulgar way to do it. And I mean, this thing I don't think did very well, and I don't want it to. Right. I don't think you should support stuff like this that helps the Weinsteins keep rights to stuff that they clearly don't give a shit about.
Yeah, I mean, it just makes me like, if I think about it for too long, especially in our current climate of art just being, whether it be AI or just like weird, what we constitute as art and that kind of thing. And obviously having come off of 6 beautiful David Lynch films at the retrospective that I just watched, and then just watch this as this completely soulless. We did this so that Clive Barker couldn't have the rights to it. We did this so that the original creator could not have the rights back to his creation.
Yeah,
and
it's
it
like
makes
every
me feel
year
so bad.
Yeah, like every year they come out with a new edition of The Watchmen, so they don't have to pay Alan Moore, and
is that true?
Who would just give the money to Dave Gibbons. Yeah. Basically, they just keep pumping out versions, or like they do things with the characters so that they can retain rights to him. So Alan Moore will never see a dime, basically. And
right,
he said that he would just give it to Dave Gibbons, the artist, anyway. But it's that kind of thing. It's just that kind of like shitty. Just no, we need money from this. We need the money. And again, like, because we will see one more after this. Yeah. And then this thing lies dormant until 2020, 2021, 22.
Yeah.
When the remake comes out.
Yeah. So, the next one, there's only one part that I really remember from it, and it grossed me out so much just on my own personal interests. So we'll get to that next week. But it is directed by Tunnicliffe. So he gets his at bat for this. So he is just staying with it. So the one thing I will say about it, which, I mean, I haven't watched it in forever, since it first came out. But, and I'm not trying to make this sound better, but I'm just saying, like, this is a guy who still really cares about this franchise. Yeah. And so I'm curious to rewatch it from that point of view. Like
that at least gives me the hope that, like, there's at least an understanding going into this. Not trying to shit on, Boda or these other people, because they also had an unhelpful task or the thankless task of, like, put Hellraiser in this. Yeah. Boom. Yeah, make it go. But that it is someone that still gives a shit.
Yeah. I feel like he's just kind of like the keeper of the lore for Hellraiser at this point. And so,
because I mean, even if what Boda says, Rick Boda said is true, and like Clive Barker looked at some of his and went like, okay, well, here, let's try this and this. Mm-hmm. Like, this was the first where Clive Barker went, no, shut up and go to hell. Yeah. Like, get away from me. This is it. I want nothing to do with this shit.
Right. Yeah.
And so having Tunnicliffe still around is good.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. That'll be Hellraiser Judgment is what we'll be taking a look at next. So we're almost there, folks. We have 2 more. Of course, I'm excited to watch the remake again, because, like, I know it's going to be better than these, even though I know I have watched it, but I have my quibbles, but, like, I'm excited to rewatch it, especially within context of watching all this junk.
Exactly. Yeah. So, because I had my opinions about it. We talked about it a little bit on our Halloween roundup. I think our 2022 Halloween roundup, because that's when they dropped it. But I'll be interested to revisit it and see with this context of having seen all of them now. Yeah. Like, this was the best movie I've ever seen.
It is serving as a light at the end of the tunnel for all this pain. There might be some pleasure down there.
That I know that at the very least, a movie's going to be okay.
Yeah, it's going to be a movie.
Yeah.
Right. All right, everyone. Well, thanks for hanging with us. Let us know if you've been hanging with us through this entire thing, because I know some of you have, and I really appreciate that. And it's exciting to be going through all of this with a support group, I guess. So fire up that Hellraiser Judgment. And until then, you can find us on Instagram at This May Hurt a Bit Pod, HeardABitPod on YouTube, and you can email us at thismayhurtabitpod@gmail.com. So until next week for Judgment, we'll say goodnight.
Good night.
This has been a Caretaker Press production. It was produced by James Strayer and edited by John C. Myers. Logo by Ethan Kimberling and music by Michael Arthur Holloway, who you can find on Bandcamp. Follow us on Instagram at thismayhurtabitpod and email us at thismayhurtabitpod@gmail.com. Give us a 5-star review over on your favorite podcast app, and we'll see you next time.